Namaste children and hello. Welcome back to your next class with Abha ma'am for EVS 1. I hope you all are fine and doing well. If you remember the last week or the last lesson, I had left you with a question. Do you remember the question? Yes, it was, why does the Arctic tern fly from the North Pole to the South Pole and then from the South Pole to the North Pole every year? Such a long distance when the conditions would be same. North Pole, South Pole, both are equally cold, right? The answer to this lies in the fact that when there is winter in the northern hemisphere, there is summer in the southern hemisphere and vice versa. So that means when it is winter in the northern hemisphere, it is a 6 months night in the northern hemisphere and extremely cold temperatures. And at the same time in the South Pole, there is a 6 months day and the temperatures are slightly warmer as compared to the North Pole, right? So the Arctic tern flies from the North Pole to the South Pole because the weather conditions and the other conditions are better than North Pole. After 6 months, the situation changes. The South Pole now has winter and the North Pole has summer. So the South Pole will now have a 6 months long night, extremely cold temperatures, whereas North Pole will have a 6 months day and slightly warmer as compared to the South Pole temperatures. So the Arctic tern flies back to the North Pole, right? Okay, so I hope that satisfies the query as to why the Arctic tern takes such a long migration to and fro from the South Pole to North Pole to South Pole, right? Now we start with today's chapter, which is chapter number 6. Matter and its properties. We all know what is matter. Matter is anything that has weight and occupies space. This we have done in class 3 also and class 4 also. So here is our learning checklist. In this chapter, what all are we going to learn? We're going to learn what is matter made up of, heating and cooling of solids, liquids and gases, and physical and chemical changes. Right? So we know that water exists in 3 forms of states, solid, liquid and gas. Identify the state of matter in the following pictures. You can see this person is selling balloons filled with, yes, gas. So this is the gas state. This is an ice cream cone with ice cream. Now the ice cream is liquid or solid? It is the solid form. And this of course is drops of water, which is the liquid form of matter. Okay. And everything in the universe is made up of matter. And as I just now said, in class 3 and 4, we have done matter is anything that has mass and occupies space. So a substance that has mass and occupies space is called matter. Matter can exist in 3 forms, solid, liquid and gas. Matter is made up of small particles called atoms and molecules. Let us learn more about them. Now here I'm showing you a picture. It's a mosaic. You all must have worked in art, and ma'am must have taught you how to tear pieces of paper and paste them like this to make a beautiful picture. So here in the picture you can see that the bee is made up of yellow pieces of paper, black pieces of paper, gray pieces of paper. The butterfly has orange, black, purple. The snail has shades of blue, pink, brown, and so on. The grass has so many different shades of green. So one object, let's say the bee, is made up of small pieces, individual pieces, which are small squares of yellow color or black color, right? Or maybe the wings, which are gray color. The grass is made up of green small pieces. All the pieces together contribute to make one single entity called the grass, right? So we can say that each piece of the paper in the mosaic represents the building block of the picture. Each piece makes up the picture. Picture is made up of small pieces and each piece is the building block. So all the building blocks are not identical, and collection of the various types of building blocks makes the colorful picture. Not all are identical. Some are yellow, black, brown, blue, green, different colors. Yes, but they are not identical. But the collection of various types of building blocks makes the picture, entire picture. Similarly, the materials around us are made up of matter, and Matter is made up of smaller particles, like your mosaic was made up of those small square pieces. Matter is made up of smaller particles called atoms. Atoms are the building blocks of all matter. Right? They are extremely small in size and can be seen only with the help of a very powerful microscope. Why I showed you the mosaic? Because here you could see the pieces with your naked eye. But normally you are matter, I'm matter, the table is matter, the chair is matter, but we can't see the atoms with our naked eyes. We need a very, very, very powerful microscope to see those to see those atoms. Though you cannot see them with naked eyes, everything around you is made up of atoms. The water you drink, the air you breathe, the earth and everything on it is made up of atoms. Right? If I take up the example of the classroom or the class, let's say class 5. Class 5 is made up of individual atoms called boys and girls. Yes? Without these boys and girls, 120 or 40, whatever number we talk of, the class 5 is not possible, right? So they are the building blocks of class 5, right? But I have two kinds of building blocks in my class 5, girls and boys, because ours is a co-ed school, right? So that will lead you to the concept of molecules. When two or more atoms combine together, they form a particle called a molecule. Now, I could have two boys who are very good friends, pals in school and inseparable. They will jahan jayenge ikatthe, khelenge ikatthe, khayenge ikatthe, everything, right? So I can say it's a pair of boys who are always moving around together. Two of them together make a molecule, right? I could have a girl and a boy who are also very close and friendly with each other. A boy and a girl. Two different atoms can make up a molecule. I can have two girls who are very good friends with each other, same type of atom coming together to make a molecule, right? So when two or more atoms combine together, they form a particle called a molecule. A molecule can be made up of the same or different kinds of atoms. For example, an oxygen molecule is made up of two oxygen atoms, and that is why we write it as O2. Two atoms of oxygen. One atom is represented as an O, and since there are two of them, we write it as O2. Whereas a water molecule is made up of two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom, and that is why we write it as H2O. Two of hydrogen, one of oxygen. I could have two girls very friendly with one boy. Yes, a new molecule, H2O. Right? So basically, when you have atoms coming together and being very close, bonded to each other, there's a way, in a specific way they bond with each other, and that you will learn as you go to senior classes, right? Excuse me. So when the molecules, the atoms attach to each other, they join with each other, they form something called a molecule. Science in context, nanotechnology is the branch of science that involves working with atoms and molecules to build devices such as robots that are extremely small. Now they work on the level of atoms and molecules. I'll just give you a small example. You all have seen a ball pen or a needle. You've seen the tip of the ball pen or the needle, so tiny it is. The tip of the pin is made up of millions of atoms or molecules. Millions of atoms and molecules, lots of them. So you can imagine nanotechnology works on such a small level. They work in terms of 20 molecules, 30 molecules, 100 molecules. Here, with my eye, I can see only millions of them together. Then it is visible to my eye. So that is why nanotechnology is a very specified branch of science where they work in terms of molecules. Now I'm showing you a few more molecules. Here you can see there is a pink colored atom, there is a off-white colored atom, and there is a white colored atom. So this molecule is made up of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 atoms, one central atom, pink, 2 off-whites, and 3 white atoms. They all join together to make a molecule. I could write this as P off-white 2, white 3. Yes, this is again one central pink atom having 4 white atoms attached to it and 2 off-white atoms attached to it. This one is 1 atom pink, 2 atoms white. I could say this is a representation of H2O, pink hydrogen, 2 oxygens. It could be a representation of carbon dioxide. Pink one is carbon, oxygens, 2 white oxygens, CO2. That is why we write it as CO2. Carbon, 1 carbon, 2 oxygens. Clear? So this is how atoms join up together, and these are the bonds. We call them the bonds. The way they are joining with each other. Where they join with each other, these are called the bonds of the molecule. So let's summarize atoms and molecules. An atom is the smallest particle of matter that can exist independently. Atoms of different substances are different. Like I showed you 3 types of atoms just now: pink, white, and off-white. There could be so many other types of atoms. So many substances around you, they will have different kinds of atoms. Atoms of different substances are different. Molecules are made up of 2 or more than 2 atoms bound in a specific manner. It has to be same specific manner every time. That is why it is fixed. H2O. Water is always H2O. 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygens. I cannot have any other combination of hydrogen and oxygen to make water. I could not say one fine day H3O is water. No, it has to be in a specific manner. CO2, carbon dioxide. I can't say CO3 is another carbon dioxide or another thing. It'll have different properties. CO3 will be different, CO will be different, CO2 will be different. Okay? So molecules can be made of similar atoms, example O2, N2, O3, H2, etc. O2, oxygen, made up of 2 atoms of oxygen. N2 is nitrogen, again made up of 2 atoms of nitrogen. O3 is ozone. Ozone is made up of 3 atoms of oxygen together. Now see, they become 2 different gases. When it is 2 atoms, it is called oxygen. When it is 3 atoms, it becomes ozone. Ozone is an entirely different substance. Oxygen is an entirely different substance. H2 is hydrogen, again made up of 2 atoms of hydrogen. Molecules can be made up of more than 1 type of atoms bound together in a specific manner. Example, H2O we just now discussed, water. 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. CO2 we just now discussed, carbon dioxide. CO is called carbon monoxide. 1 of carbon, 1 of oxygen. H2SO4 is an acid which we call sulfuric acid, has 2 atoms of hydrogen, 1 of sulfur, 4 of oxygen attached together. So we have so many compounds around us, so many substances around us which have different combination of these basic atoms. These you will study in further details in senior classes, right? Next we come to the structure of solids, liquids and gases. This to some extent we have studied in class 3 and class 4 also. Atoms and molecules are in constant motion, that is, they are always moving. They cannot stay still, like you children cannot stay still. As long as you're awake, you have to move. You just have to move. You cannot sit still. Similarly, the atoms cannot sit still at all. They have to keep moving. In solids, the atoms or molecules move but remain in the same position. I might have given this example in class 4 also, that let's say it is a class of 40 children sitting inside the classroom with the teacher teaching over there. So you have your specific spaces and you're sitting on your individual benches. You cannot get up and run around in the whole class, can you? The teacher is standing there and she's going to get very angry. But what do? What are you doing? Sun, show me. You keep moving around on your desk a little bit, right? But you do keep moving around. You will touch this, you will do this, you will take out your bag, you will open your copy, you will move around a little bit, right? That is what they're saying in solids. The atoms or molecules move but remain in the same position. In other words, they only vibrate without changing their position. They don't change their position. In that same position, they can just move around, vibrate. You've seen your mobile phones vibrating. Does it move from its place? No, it stays in space, but it's vibrating, right? So that is why the solids have a fixed shape, because they cannot move around. Shape is fixed. In liquids, the atoms or molecules move around and glide over each other. That is why liquids flow easily and can be poured into containers. Now imagine the bell rings, the teacher goes out of the class. Do you continue sitting on your seats and just moving around here and there? No. The moment the teacher leaves and before the next teacher comes, you are out of your seats running. Hey, Soni, idhar aaja, chal udhar chalte hain. Two of them in that corner, three of them in that corner. Chit chat talking, right? But do you leave the classroom and go out? No. You are confined to the four walls of the classroom. You can stay in that only, but you can move around a lot any way you want. So that becomes the liquid state. And that is why what controls your shape? The four walls of the classroom control your shape. If the walls of the classroom could change suddenly and they become a triangular classroom, your shape would become a triangle. Let's say the room would suddenly become a circular room, then your shape would also become circular. So that is what they're saying. The liquids can be poured into the containers and they take up the shape of the container into which they are poured. Last is the gas stage. In gases, atoms or molecules move freely and are not in contact with each other. That is why gases move to take up the entire space available to them. See, you can see here, they are running around a lot. Here they are closer to each other and here they are tightly packed. They can just vibrate. You can see these things for vibration, right? So here the gaseous state is when actually you are in the playtime. You leave the classroom, you go to the fields outside. Now class 4, class 5, 1, 2, anyone can be running around anywhere. And what limits you now is the boundary of the school. There's no other limitation. So 40 children who were confined to a small area can now be spread over the whole place. Let's say it's not the playtime. Let's say it's just one class was allowed to go down and play. So now those 40 children which were occupying a set space inside the classroom now have the entire space of the playground available to them. So there is no bound or limitations to their volume, right? They will take up the entire space available to them. If let's say the boundary walls were pushed further or the gate was opened and you had another playground attached to the gates, you would spread into that also. So whatever is the space available, the molecules will spread out and take that entire space available to them. And that is why they don't have a fixed volume also. Now, before we go ahead, I want to show you something. Okay, now I hope you all can see I have a glass full of peanuts in front of you. Yes, you know what are peanuts? Moongfali. I have a glass full of peanuts in front of you. It's full of peanuts. If I try to add more peanuts to it, they start falling out, right? So there's a limit to how much I can fill into the glass. So if I put anything else on top now, it will start falling out. Now I'll do a magic trick. I will add some more substance to it without it falling out. I have taken some salt and now I am putting salt into the peanuts and see, none of the salt is falling out. I've put 1 spoon, 2 spoons, 3 spoons, 4 spoons. See, I could not put 4 spoons of peanuts here and they would have just fallen out. See? So where did all this salt go? Where did it go? So if I can show you a close-up, it will not be very clear, I do not know. You can see salt in between the spaces in the peanut. You can see the salt here. This is all white salt over here in between. Here you can see white salt in between the spaces. You can see salt over here. They take up the space in between the peanuts. The salt takes up the space in between the peanuts. That means there was place in between the peanuts because the peanuts are round in shape. They will never pack with each other properly. There will be space in between them. And the salt, being very fine, drips in and takes, I can add even more salt in it if I want. Yes, it'll take some time. I can add even more salt into it. It'll just go down, settle into the spaces available. See, I think this was the 6th spoon of salt I put, and it is all going in. So this shows that there is space between the peanuts, and the salt is taking the space of the between the peanuts. Now, what was I trying to explain to you? Just a minute. Right. So you saw there was such a lot. There's now you can see so clearly. There's such a lot of salt in between the peanuts. So what I'm trying to show is the peanuts are the molecules, and there is space in between the molecules, and molecules of smaller size can take up the space in between the molecules in between, and this space between the molecules is called the intermolecular space. Intermolecular space. The space between two molecules is called the intermolecular space. The molecules are held together. Even if you look at this picture, see there is space between the molecules over here in the solids, right? So even though the peanuts were tightly packed like this, there was still space in between in which the salt was settling in. And if it was a liquid state, even more space in between. And in the gas state, even lots of space in between them for the molecules to come and mix with each other. So many molecules of another kind can take up these spaces in between, right? So the space between the two molecules is called the intermolecular space. The molecules are held together by a force of attraction, which is very strong in solids, weaker in liquids, and very weak in gases. Now, what is this force of attraction? Let's say you were holding hands and playing. The tighter you hold your hand, the more is the force of attraction. Loosely you hold your hands, you can be separated off easily and you can spread out more easily. But if you're holding hands real tight and people keep pulling, you will not be able to separate out, right? So the force of attraction is least in gases and maximum in the solids. A spoon of sugar added to water dissolves in it because the sugar molecules occupy the intermolecular space in water. Now this you can try at home. Take a glass of water, right? Fill it with some water and mark the level of the water with a pen on the glass. Now add 4, 5, 6 teaspoons of sugar and dissolve. After dissolving, again check the level will be the same. I did not do that activity here, but it would become a bit too messy, and it's a bit time consuming to dissolve the sugar. It will take some time for the sugar to dissolve. So, but you can do it. Can try it at home, and the level of water will remain the same. It will not rise. If I've added 6 teaspoons of sugar, it should rise. Like I was talking of, if the peanuts, if I was adding 6 teaspoons of salt, they should have overflown, but it did not. Most of it stayed inside, just a few grains fell out. So that is why a spoon of sugar added to water dissolves in it, because the sugar molecules occupy the intermolecular space in water. Some liquids such as alcohol also dissolve in water. Simple. One liquid and another liquid. You take a glass of milk, you add water, it all mixes and becomes white, but a lighter white. Why? Because the water molecules and the milk molecules take each other's spaces. Gases such as oxygen and carbon dioxide dissolve in water. The gases go into the water, they take up the spaces in between the water molecules. So I can have a gas molecule taking up the space in between of the water molecules. Let's say if this is water, then these are the spaces in between the water molecules. My CO2 molecules or O2 molecules can take up these spaces in between, and therefore a gas can also dissolve in water. And the fish breathe in the oxygen dissolved in water, and they breathe out carbon dioxide into the water, which stays in the dissolved in the water, right? Okay, extended learning. The lightness or heaviness of a substance for a given volume is called density. You note the words, for a given volume. The volume remaining the same, how heavy or light it is called the density. Density depends on how closely the molecules are packed in a given substance. Thus, a stone is denser than a block of wood because the particles in a stone are very closely packed compared to the block of wood. I'll show you something now. I'm taking 2 squares, same size, absolutely same size, right? Clearly visible, both are same size. I put how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 balls into this box. And I put 9 balls into this box. Size of the balls is the same, right? The only difference is they are closer to each other. Here they are further away from each other. Now let's say that each ball weighs 1 gram. So what will this box weigh? Each ball weighs 1 gram. There are 16 balls here. So what will be the weight of this box? 16 grams, right? And this box would be 9 grams, right? So that is what they're saying, the lightness or heaviness of a substance. See, that's what they're saying, the lightness or heaviness of a substance for a given volume, the volume remaining the same, the heaviness or the lightness of the substance is called its density. So this box or this substance or this matter will be denser than this matter. So this weighs less, this weighs more. So if I say an example of rock, the molecules are more closely packed. So it is denser, whereas in a piece of wood, the molecules are not so closely packed and therefore it's lighter in weight and therefore it is less dense, right? Density details you will study further in your senior classes, right? So children, today's chapter we stop here. We will continue with the rest of it in the next class. I'm attaching some question answers along with this video. I want you to write out these question answers in your notebooks. Learn them, revise them, read the chapter carefully. In case you have any doubts or queries or any questions related to the content I have explained to you, you can send me an email. The messages have been sent to your SNAP homework. For us, it will be bhavansevs1@gmail.com. Whatever is your query, if not understood anything in the chapter, please mention your class, your name, and your doubt, and surely your doubts will be answered by me, but on Saturday, right? That is the time fixed for giving responses to all your doubts and queries. So whatever you've not understood, just jot down into the email with your name and your class, and we'll get back to you, right? So with this, I sign off my today's online lecture. Stay healthy, stay safe, and God bless you all. Thank you.